Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
And welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take, how your family or business can benefit in current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. And let me remind you, if you ever have any home or finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. And you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
While I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan, a plan to save you money, I personally work with you. Even if you don't have any needs today, save this number in your phone for future reference. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, of course, we're celebrating today. And boy, I like this one because I have beaten anorexia and I like chocolate. Chocolate covered cashews day. Yeah. Okay, I can get behind that one. I like chocolate covered chocolate covered nuts, chocolate covered almonds, cashews, peanuts, any of the above. Chocolate covered means it is good. Now, what's your favorite chocolate covered item? We haven't done a question of the day in a while, Josh. Favorite chocolate covered? Cashews, almonds, raisins, peanuts, chocolate covered. What is your favorite? Put it in the chat. We hear you. If you're listening to us on radio, just yell in your car. We'll hear you. You know, those cars are digital radios now, and you obviously know that your phone is always listening. So we're going to put in there chocolate covered what? Josh went even more generic. What is your favorite chocolate covered food? Okay, so that would include marshmallows and cupcakes and cookies. Now, have you ever gone to one of those places where they have the fondue fountain, and then they put a bunch of stuff next to it with a stick? Like you've got a sliced pineapple, and they can stick that, and you put it into the chocolate fondue thing, and it's we could talk about chocolate all day long, but we wouldn't get anywhere. Okay, let's move right along. What's happening in the markets today? Dow Jones Industrial Average, pretty flat, down 37 points right now. NASDAQ is down 21. The S&P 500 is down 13. Oil up $2.29 a barrel. And gold down $78 an ounce, $47.42 per ounce as we speak. Got some data this morning. ADP employment change, their weekly number. This isn't the monthly. Weekly numbers added 54.75 thousand. So that one there, we're getting more and more employment. So the jobs number is looking better. Retail sales, big beat right there. The market was expecting 1.47% growth. Came in at 1.7% on retail sales. The control group was expected to be 0.2%. It was 0.7%. So there's another beat in there. Truflation came out with their real-time inflation number. 1.7% is their annual inflation rate. Too bad the Federal Reserve doesn't look at that because they would know then what the real numbers are on inflation.
Such an idiot.
Yeah, we know, Jerome. You don't look at this stuff.
Such an idiot.
Kevin Warsh is in there going through his confirmation hearings. The president has nominated him to be the next Fed chairman. As you can expect, Elizabeth Warren came out conversation.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Which you can say this about anybody, that whoever she said she doesn't support Warsh because the president nominated him and he would be a puppet to the president. Well, whoever the president nominates, he's nominating somebody who he believes sees things the same way he does. And Warren can say that about anybody. So we know that she's not going to vote positive anyway. So why not just discount anything she has to say?
Idiot.
Yeah, that's true, Elizabeth Warren. If it wasn't for a lot of things that Elizabeth Warren did and does, we wouldn't have nearly the amount of problems we have in America right now, in finance right now, just because she's been responsible for a lot of the housing problems that we have in America. She was a big proponent of the Dodd-Frank Act, bringing out a lot of changes that we have in housing. Now, a lot of folks don't look back to the root cause of issues. They look and say, this happened today, so it must be today's administration that's responsible for it. Well, a lot of what happens today is historic. For instance, if you want to look at what caused the Great Recession, people say it was the mortgage rates, the mortgage meltdown. They blame it on George W. Bush, who was in office at the time. Well, if you look back at the root cause of it, it was an act that was signed into law in the Carter administration. Now, every president was wise enough that they did not enforce that law, including Jimmy Carter, until we got to Bill Clinton. Now, Clinton said it was the Community Reinvestment Act. Now, Bill Clinton said, well, what we want to do is we want to get everybody to own houses. So in his administration, banks were forced to start lending to people that may or may not be qualified or may not be able to repay the loans. Now, does that happen overnight? Does the effects happen overnight? No. But what ends up happening what happens is it didn't really materialize, and we didn't have the meltdown until the latter part of the Bush administration, the younger Bush, 43. So we didn't have it happen until then. So he gets the blame for it. Carter started it. Clinton reinforced it. Bush gets blamed for it. Elizabeth Warren goes and says, oh, we got to correct this. Well, her correction causes more problems. And we are today now, some 15 years after that, dealing with the ramifications, high cost of housing, tough to get loans. And we're going to tell you today how to skirt these issues. How can you actually get qualified for a loan when maybe your bank statements don't show the whole story? So we're going to talk about that today in detail, and we're going to give you a lot of information on that from you when you're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, only 1 in 4 homes sell over asking now. Here is what smart sellers are doing about it. From you don't qualify to closing on the home without changing a single deduction. All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you missed any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 018694452. You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions. There are solutions. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by rsrlinks.com/mobile app, rsrlinks.com/mobile app, and every day at this time, OBMMI. They provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual lock rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. They do not tell us points paid, points received, or the APR. They tell us the number you put in your mortgage calculator to determine your principal and interest payments. Don't have a mortgage calculator? No problem. rsrlinks.com/calculators. That is our suite of mobile calculators or of all kinds of financial calculators. rsrlinks.com/calculators. And yes, you can grab them right there. What did rates do yesterday? Conventional 30-year, most of them were, well, it's a roller coaster. Conventional 30-year fix, 6.218, that was up. Jumbo 30-year fix, 6.538, that was up. FHA 30-year fix, 6.014, that was down. VA 30-year fix, 5.819, that was up. And the USDA 30-year fix, 5.845, that one was down. So we had a mixed bag on rates yesterday. And what's going on with the rates today? Well, if you want to know our thoughts, rsrlinks.com/HBOD. That's the Ron Siegel Radio community. Join us there anytime you like, rsrlinks.com/HBOD. Rates today, let's take a look. S&P 500 down 16 points. The mortgage bond is up 4 basis points, 4.29. I'm sorry, that's the 10-year treasury is up 4 basis points, 4.29. The mortgage bond, that one is down 28 basis points.
Ow!
Remember, when the bond goes down, rates go up, down 28.
Ow!
Not good. But what's driving it? Well, let's take a look because all the other information is available on that super secret website. U.S. representatives, including Vice President J.D. Vance, are heading to Pakistan today. Iran, although previously saying they wouldn't be attending, confirmed that they would also be joining for the second round of negotiations. I guess the folks there got the hint that if the president starts bombing again, they might have a problem. The stock market is moving higher once again, although it has turned southbound. Optimistic that a deal will be done. Mortgage bonds are lower on the heels of a stronger than expected retail sales and ADP weekly report, the ADP weekly employment report. President Trump was interviewed on CNBC this morning, about 30 minutes. He said that he believes the U.S. will end up with a great deal. He emphasized that the U.S. has complete control over the Strait of Hormuz and that he does not want to extend the ceasefire, but rather he wants a deal to be made. He said that the mindset of the U.S. has that if a deal is not made, bombing would resume. Now, we know that the president's going to say that. The question is, will he do it? I don't know. He was also asked about Kevin Warsh's confirmation hearing today in front of the Senate and whether or not he would be disappointed if Warsh did not cut rates right away once he was in the seat of Fed chair. President Trump responded that he would be disappointed. Kevin Warsh will likely undergo some tough questioning this morning, already going on right now, as the Senate will likely probe into his net worth, previous comments on how the Fed could cut due to AI productivity that will not cause inflation, and his plans going forward. I still believe that Tom Tillis may block his nomination because of the investigation still ongoing into the Fed's renovation project. $2.5 billion being spent on the Federal Reserve's building in Washington, D.C. Do we really need a $2.5 billion renovation? Is anybody really watching these things? You can expect that the president would be disappointed. He said right along that he wants to see rates lower. So not a whole lot of surprise there. Also, the fact that Kevin Warsh doesn't unilaterally decide whether rates go up or rates go down. It's the Federal Reserve Open Market Committee that really makes those determinations. But Warsh has a lot of authority because he runs the Federal Reserve and the Federal Reserve staff. So he could actually put more weight into sharing information from sources like Truflation that tell us real-time inflation data at 1.7%, which is below the Fed's target of 2%, which would then lead us to believe or understand that the Fed's rates are a bit restrictive, but we'll see. ADP released their weekly employment report showing that private employers at an average of 55,000 jobs per week in the 4 weeks ending April 4th. The job growth within this report has accelerated as the previous reading was 40,000 jobs per week. Based on the latest report, it's trending toward 220,000 job creation per month and is something to keep an eye on. Retail sales rose 1.7% in March, which was stronger than the 1.4% expected. Gasoline sales rose 15.5% due to higher prices, which helped the overall reading. This doesn't point to stronger economic activity necessarily, as people are just spending more on gas because the price is higher, not going on spending sprees or on other items because the economy is so good. Core index, which is most important and is plugged into GDP, rose 0.7%, which was stronger than the 0.2% expected. There was also a 0.1% revision higher to the previous monthly reading for both the headline and core, making the report even stronger. Higher gas and oil prices are very important and trickle into a lot of other items. So this this figure could be inflated a bit as well. Longer term, if oil prices remain higher, it will be interesting to see if there is demand destruction and less spending on discretionary items as a result. And you can see that people are still spending because of that retail report that did come out today. So that is the Mortgage Minute today, being brought to you by rsrlinks.com/mobile app, rsrlinks.com. I'm sorry, we got key steps in there. Okay, rsrlinks.com/key steps. We can go whichever way you like. Key Steps is a great product. So that is our Mortgage Minute for you today. And we got a lot of great stuff for you right there. Just think about where you're heading. And I'm looking at a family right now that we're looking at helping. And their situation, and again, I'm not giving you any firm numbers, but because of the strategy, and yes, strategy beats rate always, and I share that with you on a regular basis. We're actually looking at a 5.5% interest rate for them. Now, again, I don't want to give you all the APRs and all those other things because every situation is a little bit different. But what I'm getting at is strategically, people can do a lot of things if you understand how to do it. And this is from somebody that was just turned down by one of the big brick and mortar banks. So you're going to hear me talk about this later in the broadcast as well, that big brick and mortar banks are good, but their people know their programs with their overlays. They don't know the entire market. So that's a big issue right there, and I want to get that clear to you. You are listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, only 1 in 4 homes sell over asking price right now. Here's what smart sellers are doing about it. And we've got a Mortgage 101 today, brought to you by Key Steps. Mortgage 101, from you don't qualify to closing on the home without changing a single deduction. All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Confused about the home buying process? Or curious how much you really know about buying a home? Take the First Home IQ quiz to test your understanding of buying a home. Created by the nonprofit First Home IQ, this 5-minute quiz will give you a score, what you missed, and why. Take the quiz in 5 minutes at rsrlinks.com/FHIQ and find out what you need to know about buying your first home. That's rsrlinks.com/FHIQ.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. Only 1 in 4 homes is selling for over asking the price right now. Back in 2021, it was almost 1 in 2. If you're thinking about selling or if you already have your home on the market, that single number should change how you plan the next 90 days. I am Ron Siegel, Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Today, we are talking about something every seller needs to hear before they sign a listing agreement. Here's the headline from Redfin and Resi Club that caught my eye this week. Only about 25% of homes sold in the last cycle closed above their list price. Compare that to 2021, when nearly half of every home in America was getting multiple offers over asking. The market is gone. It is not coming back anytime soon. And if you are a seller, that matters. Now, I want to be careful here. This does not mean the sky is falling. It does not mean home values are crashing. What it means is the market has moved from a frenzy back towards something that looks a lot more like normal. Buyers are taking their time. They're doing inspections again. They're asking for closing cost help. They are negotiating. And in a lot of neighborhoods, negotiation is back on the table. So what does this mean for you? If you're a seller, it means the strategy you used in 2021 and 2022, even last year, probably will not work today. I talked with a family last month who told me we just want to price it high and see what happens. And I get it. That is what everybody did a few years ago. You priced high, you sat back, and you watched the offers roll in. 10, 12, 15 offers in a weekend, 20,000, 30,000, sometimes 100,000 over list. That is not the game anymore. Today, if you price your home too high, here's what happens. Your listing sits. The days on market numbers climbs. Buyers start asking, what is wrong with that house? Your agent starts talking to you about a price reduction, and by the time you finally reduce it, you've already lost the one thing you cannot get back, that first week of momentum. The first week is when your home gets the most eyeballs, the most showings, the most serious buyers. If you blow that week with a price that is too aggressive, you end up selling it for less than you would have if you had priced it right on day one. 3 out of 4 homes today are selling at or below asking. That is the reality. So the winning move is not hoping for a bidding war. The winning move is having a price and exposure strategy that brings the right buyers to your door in week 1. If you want a head start on this, we have put together a free home seller's guide that walks you through the whole process. Pricing, staging, inspections, the timeline, the paperwork, all of it. You can grab it at rsrlinks.com/HSG. rsrlinks.com/HSG. Read it before you sit down with any agent. Now, let me talk about exposure, because this is where most listings fall flat. Exposure is not just sticking a sign in the yard and hoping. It is professional photography that shows off your home in the best light. It is video walkthroughs. It is making sure your home shows up on every major home search site the day it goes live. And it is running a real advertising campaign for your listing. Here is what most sellers do not know. As a lender, I work closely with a network of top realtors. We call them partners for Ron Siegel Radio. When you list your home with one of our realtor partners, their agent gets pushed through a dedicated ad platform on Meta social media. That's Facebook and Instagram. It's also put on streaming television. And those listings are averaging over 30,000 views inside the first 10 days. 30,000 sets of eyes targeted at buyers in your zip code and the zip codes feeding into it. That's not a sign on the corner. That's not a flyer at the grocery store. That is a real modern marketing machine working for your home while you sleep. And here's the part most sellers miss. It's also about pairing your home with the right financing story for the buyer. Because the buyer today is not just looking at your house, they're looking at the monthly payment. They're looking at the rate. They're looking at whether they can get in with a little help. If your home is marketed with options like payment assistance or a first-time buyer program or a way for the buyer to lock in a payment they can actually afford, you just pulled in a whole new pool of buyers that your neighbor down the street did not. Payment assistance is one of the most powerful tools we offer on the lending side. Here's how it works. A portion of the proceeds from the sale of your home is used to buy down the buyer's interest rate. And I'm not talking about one of those temporary buy downs where the payment goes up after the first year or two. I'm talking about a permanent buy down. The rate is locked in for the life of the loan. The buyer gets a lower payment forever. You get your home sold, everybody wins. Here's a simple move that makes a big difference. Have your listing agent put a clause in the multiple listings, the MLS notes, that says, seller has authorized special financing terms through their approved lender. That one line tells every buyer's agent in town that your home comes with a financing hook they cannot get down the street. You can learn more about how the permanent buy down works at rsrlinks.com/buydown. That's rsrlinks.com/buydown. This is where strategy beats rate always. The rate on the evening news does not sell your house. The monthly payment the buyer can picture themselves making every month, that sells your house. I worked recently with a seller whose home had been sitting with another agent for 60 days, no offers. She was frustrated. We got her connected with one of our realtor partners. New price, new photography, a new story for the buyer that included payment assistance on the financing side. She had an offer accepted in 11 days. Not over asking, but at the number she was happy with in a time frame that let her move on with her life. That's the difference between hoping the marketing does the work for you and building a strategy that does the work for you. If you're thinking about selling in the next 6 months, or if your home is already listed and it is not moving the way you thought it would, I want you to visit rsrlinks.com/salesmax. That's rsrlinks.com/salesmax. It's a free resource that walks you through the exposure and pricing strategy our realtor partners and my lending team use together to help sellers stop guessing and start closing. No pressure, no sales pitch, just a real plan for a real market. I am Ron Siegel, your certified liability advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Thanks for listening to the Real-Time Real Estate segment brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. You are listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back from you don't qualify to closing on the home without changing a single deduction. All that, more, reach me anytime. Off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you missed any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Do you know a homeowner experiencing divorce? Do you know a real estate reference and the divorce decree could cost tens of thousands of dollars? A certified divorce mortgage planning and real estate report could save you thousands of dollars, and it's free from your local certified divorce lending professional. Reach out to Ron today. RonIsMyLender.com. Again, RonIsMyLender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions, as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Mortgage 101 today being brought to you by rsrlinks.com/keysteps. That's rsrlinks.com/keysteps. You can earn $250,000 a year and still get told you don't qualify for a home loan. You can have money rolling into your bank account every single month, steady as a clock, and still walk out of a lender's office with a declination letter. Declined. How does that happen? Because the system isn't measuring what you actually earn, it's measuring what you reported. I am Ron Siegel, Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. And today we're going to talk about something that quietly costs smart, successful people their dream home every single week in this country. Your tax return might be the problem, not your income. Here's what most people don't understand about traditional mortgage qualification. When you apply for a standard loan, the lender looks at one of two things. If you're a W-2 employee, they look at your paycheck. Simple. If you're self-employed business owner, a 1099, if you're self-employed, a business owner, a 1099 earner, a commission professional, a contractor, a consultant, a real estate agent, a gig worker, they look at your tax return and not the top line. They look at your net income after every deduction your CPA helped you take. Now think about that for a second. Your accountant spent a year doing exactly what a good accountant is supposed to do. Write off the truck, write off the office, write off the meals, the travel, the equipment, the home office, the phone, legally, ethically, correctly. The goal was to reduce your tax bill, and it worked. Then you walked into a lender, and that same tax return says you made $60,000 last year, even though your bank account says you deposited $180,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. Same person, same income, two completely different stories. Here's the line I want you to remember. The same strategy that saves you taxes can disqualify you from a home. If you control your income on paper, this applies to you. Business owners, real estate agent, loan officers, contractors, consultants, independent professionals, anyone with heavy write-offs. You did everything right. You built a business. You followed tax strategy. And the lending system, which was built decades ago for salaried employees with one employer and one W-2, does not know how to read you. So what does this mean for you? It means you're not unqualified. You are misqualified. You're being measured the wrong way. There is a solution, and it has been around for years. It is legitimate. It is widely used, and most people have never heard of it. It's called a bank statement loan. You will also hear it called a non-QM loan or a non-traditional loan. Three names, same idea. Think of it as a different set of glasses, same person, same income, but finally seen for what it really is. Here's the simple version. Instead of looking at your tax return, the lender looks at a window of your bank deposits over a set period of time. Those deposits get averaged out. A percentage is applied to account for the cost of running your business. What is left becomes your qualifying income. That is the what, the exact how, the time frame, the percentages, the program that fits you best. That's what we do for you when you call us. Let me give you an example. Say you deposit $20,000 a month into your business account. That's $240,000 a year flowing through the business. When that gets averaged and run through the program, the lender is suddenly seeing real six-figure cash flow instead of the $60,000 your tax return showed. Same person, same business, completely different outcome. And here's something most people don't realize. A lot of business owners using this program actually qualify for a larger loan than they would ever get through a traditional lender. In many cases, more than they would even want to spend from a budget standpoint. That's a very different conversation than being declined. That is a conversation about what fits your life, not what fits a form. Here's the part nobody talks about. This loan is often much simpler to apply for than a traditional loan. You're not digging through your taxes, your years of tax returns, K-1s, profit and loss statements, amended schedules, and letters from your CPA explaining one line on page 42. That's a headache for you to collect. That's a headache for you to supply. And honestly, for a lot of business professionals, that pile of paperwork is the reason they never applied in the first place. Bank statements, on the other hand, are usually very simple. You log into your bank's website, you download them, you send them over, that's it. For time-constrained business owners who would rather be running their company than assembling a paper mountain, a lot of them actually prefer this loan to a traditional loan. Not just because it gets them qualified, because the process respects their time. And here's the part that really matters. A lot of brick and mortar banks do not offer this type of loan at all. So the loan officer at your local branch says you don't qualify. What they should really be saying is, you don't qualify with us. That's a very different sentence. The one of them shuts the door on your dream. The other tells you to go find the right door. Too many people hear the first sentence and walk away forever. They never find out the second sentence was the truth. Now, let me address the pushbacks. Rates are typically slightly higher than a conventional loan that you didn't qualify for. Slightly, not significantly. Down payments can actually be in a similar range to what you would see on a traditional loan, depending on the program and your profile. Documentation is different, and for many of you, much easier. Remember, strategy beats rate always, because a rate on a loan you cannot get is just a number on a brochure. A slightly higher rate on a loan that actually puts you in the right home at the right time, in the right market, is how people build real wealth. Let me paint a picture. I recently worked through a scenario with a business owner. On paper, his tax return showed about $60,000 of income. In real life, his business deposited around $240,000 a year into his operating account. $20,000 a month. Traditional loan declined or severely limited as to the purchasing power. Non-traditional loan qualified comfortably based on real cash flow. And honestly, qualified for more home than he wanted to buy. Same person, same income, different set of glasses. And here's why this matters right now. More people are self-employed than ever before. The gig economy has exploded. Tax strategies have gotten more aggressive for good reason. But lending rules at a lot of banks have not kept up. The workforce changed. The rule book at a lot of brick and mortar lenders did not. So if you're being told you don't qualify, the question I want you to ask is not what's wrong with me. The question is, am I being evaluated the right way by the right lender? And to the realtors listening right now, if you're only writing offers for W-2 buyers, you are leaving deals on the table every week. There's an entire buyer pool of self-employed professionals, business owners, and 1099 earners who have been told no somewhere else and walked away thinking home ownership was out of reach. It isn't. They just need a lender who knows how to read the real story. 3 questions to ask yourself, to ask a buyer. 1, do you write off a significant portion of your income? 2, are your bank deposits higher than the income reported on your tax return? 3, have you ever been told you don't qualify even though your cash flow is strong? If the answer is yes to any of those questions, we should be having a conversation before you ever apply anywhere else. So here's what I want you to do. Before you assume you don't qualify, before you accept a no from somebody who was measuring you the wrong way, or from a lender who simply doesn't offer this kind of loan, let's look at how you actually earn income, not just how it was reported. Go to rsrlinks.com/keysteps. That's rsrlinks.com/keysteps. It is the starting point for a real conversation about your income, your cash flow, and the strategy that fits your life, the strategy that fits the life you actually built. Income isn't the problem, reporting is. You are not unqualified, you are misqualified. And that's a fixable problem. I am Ron Siegel, your Certified Liability Advisor, helping families build wealth through strategic debt management. Thanks for listening to Mortgage 101, brought to you by rsrlinks.com/keysteps, rsrlinks.com/keysteps. And as always, I ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Big thanks to Josh and Sean who are engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.